Hello again.
Hare Krishna.
So we are in Harper's Ferry.
Yes.
Now, if you want to look that up, it's quite famous to do with the Civil War. And just over there is the Potomac River, you can see. And the Potomac River, it's actually where the Shenandoah and the Potomac join. And the Potomac River is the river that flows through Washington, D.C. And this area is called the Tri-State area. Right now we're in Virginia. That hill over there is Maryland, and just up there on the other side is West Virginia. So all three of the states kind of converge here where these rivers meet. And the rivers form a natural boundary. And that's enough for the history of the area. It's so beautiful. We'll take some shots, and right now Bhava Bhakti is editing shots into
I won't, and I'll tell you why I won't, because the internet is really
it doesn't
slow.
affect the editing. Anyway, so it's beautiful. All right, so we're here to read the Srimad Bhagavatam, because wherever you go, you can read the Bhagavatam. All right. So we're just going to do it a little bit, because we kind of snuck in through some specialized bar that's up on the side of this mountain.
You might be able to hear the country music.
Yeah. And,
country and, what is it? Western music.
Country and Western music.
Oh my days, of all the genres, right, of music, that just, as if the heat ain't bad, you know? So it's very difficult, but anyway.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Alright, Canto 3, Chapter 27, Text 7, because we only managed one verse.
What's the title of the chapter?
Oh, Understanding Material Nature.
Here we are, surrounded by it all around. Okay.
Alright. In executing devotional service, one has to see every living entity equally, without enmity towards anyone, yet without intimate connections with anyone. One has to absorb celibacy, be
Observe,
grave.
not absorb.
No, one has to. I'm really hot. I'm getting heat rage. One has to observe celibacy, be grave, and execute his eternal activities, offering the results to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. A devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who seriously engages in devotional service is equal to all living entities. There are various species of living entities, but a devotee does not see the outward covering. He sees the inner soul inhabiting the body. Because each and every soul is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he does not see any difference. That is the vision of a learned devotee. As explained in Bhagavad Gita, a devotee or a learned sage does not see any difference between a learned brahmana, a dog, an elephant, or a cow, because he knows that the body is the outer covering only, and that the soul is actually part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. A devotee has no enmity towards any living entity, but that does not mean that he mixes with everyone. That is prohibited. Aprasangata means not to be in intimate touch with everyone. A devotee is concerned with his execution of devotional service, and he should therefore mix with devotees only in order to advance his objective. He has no business mixing with others, for although he does not see anyone as his enemy, his dealings are only with persons who engage in devotional service. That's a nice point. It doesn't mean, sometimes, especially when you start to work, like when I finished uni, I was working, I've noticed something I went through. It's interesting, it seems most devotees do, because now I look after devotees and then they would express that fear. You think, it's the same thing, and the fear is, I don't want to go to work, not because they're lazy, not because anything like that, but they think, how does it work? How does Krishna consciousness work now? When you're at uni, you come to the temple, because you don't have that many classes, 1-2 hours a day, and you realise I'm going to be now spending the majority of my day, or a serious bulk of it, with people who are not devotees, and it can be daunting when you first think about it. So it doesn't mean, therefore, so hide yourself away, go and live in the temple, go and live in a cave. It's not saying that. we can be amongst people, but you don't need to necessarily, you can give association, but you don't necessarily have to take it. Take it means literally just, yeah, you know, let's all hang out at the weekend, let me do what you do, or even just get drawn too much into the mundane stuff, because it is very covering actually. Association, it's very potent, and who you associate with can make or break your spiritual life, or any life, let's just be honest. So in that way it is very important, but I think it's important to stress it doesn't mean we don't live in this world amongst people who are not devotees, you know?
Yeah. Well, we were recently with devotees, and we were hearing that one senior devotee was describing what it means to take association. It means that we reveal our heart and give our heart to someone. So we have to be very careful not to give our hearts to, in one sense, non-devotees. Now, I think this is a really delicate subject, because then, you know, you have the situation of family, your parents, and so many things like that. And I know for a fact that if it wasn't for my friend, who after he became a devotee, he continued to come and try to give me association. Of course, his motivation in coming to be with me wasn't to enjoy my association and the horrible association I was keeping. His purpose was to come and try somehow to connect with me and help me to connect with Krishna. But he didn't give up, and because of that, I'm able to be here. So, you know, there is a fine line and balance where it's not that we just shut ourselves off from the entire world and only associate with devotees. Otherwise, and there's a place, I can't remember if we were reading it earlier, where Prabhupada says that, or no, it was actually in Krishna Consciousness Topmost Yoga System, where Prabhupada was saying that that if we stop associating with everyone, how would we go out to preach? You know, how would we go out? We have to go out and share Krishna with others. But we save our hearts, our heart of hearts, really, for giving to the devotees and revealing our hearts and minds to the devotees. And in that way, that intimate association is reserved for devotee association. But it doesn't mean that we necessarily try to run away from other kinds of association, or we don't go to work, or we don't go to university, or go to school, or we don't, you know, that kind of thing. Although it is very difficult, and sometimes even in materialistic life, you know, you grow up, you don't see your school friends again for 15, 20 years. So sometimes we may move on because we find an interest elsewhere, and, you know, that's part of life in general. So as devotees, if we find that we're more inspired in devotee association, then we may naturally give up other association. But of course, familial association means family association will be more difficult to relinquish, and that should be handled very delicately, in my opinion. Probably along the way many mistakes have been made, but we see in the example of Srila Prabhupada, he encouraged even Brahmananda and Garga Muni at their initiation to first go and offer respects to their mother. And then he said, whenever you see your mother, you should touch her feet. And so when they used to go and visit her, the first thing they would do is they would offer respects. And because of that, she became super favorable. I don't think she ever took initiation or became a devotee exactly, but she wasn't repelled from Krishna consciousness because of what may sometimes be actually a kind of false renunciation, a falgo vairagya type of situation. Anyway, it's a big topic, but those are just a few thoughts. Meanwhile, here we stand outside of some, you know, I want to say hillbilly bar, but nobody here is really a hillbilly. It's more like yuppies. But you know, with the cowboy music playing in the background. We'll
reading the Bhagavatam.
Reading the Bhagavatam. And if anyone came and asked us what you're doing, we tell them, you know, what we're doing.
So what's it to you?
And yeah, that's it. Well, that might not be the best way to put it. You know, what's it to you?
You want a piece of me?
Yeah. Maybe you want a piece of the Bhagavatam, maybe like a copy of the Bhagavatam. Next paragraph. A devotee should observe the vow of celibacy. Celibacy does not necessitate that one be absolutely free from sex life. Satisfaction with one's wife is permitted also under the vow of celibacy. The best policy is to avoid sex life altogether. That is preferable. Otherwise, a devotee can get married under religious principles and live peacefully with a wife. Wow, that's a whole can of worms we could open right there. But what we can see here by Srila Prabhupada's purport is that it's not as black and white as sometimes we make it. And of course, there's good, better, and best. The best is completely abstain altogether from any material deception of allurement and enjoyment in the material world. And then Prabhupada, so good, better. So best, better is, we have a wife, we have children, we have griha. And then good is that, somehow you try to control the senses. You work on control, and knowing that there's a path to be on. So the beautiful thing about Krishna consciousness is it is a progressive path, and you can get on it anywhere where you're at, and you can make progress, tangible progress. It may be slow, it may be gradual, but it's still progress. Like that. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I'm just conscious of
the heat.
Yeah. I can't tell you how much I'm sweating, but that's too much information.
I think it's great.
Right.
But, what everyone's experiencing in India, I think we said earlier, we're experiencing, it is like Fahrenheit 92 or 93 degrees, if not more here.
Yeah, you had a meltdown in UK. Here they're like, whatever, hold my beer. I'll show you high temperature.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So let's try
next paragraph before I wilt, because I'm a lady. So I don't sweat, I just glow. A devotee should not speak needlessly. A serious devotee has no time to speak of nonsense. He is always busy in Krishna consciousness. Whenever he speaks about Krishna. Mauna means silence. Silence doesn't mean that one should not speak at all, but that he should not speak nonsense.
Of nonsense.
He should be very enthusiastic in speaking about Krishna. Another important item described here is swadharmena, or being exclusively occupied in one's eternal occupation, which is to act as the eternal servant of the Lord, or to act in Krishna consciousness. The next word, baliyasa, means offering the results of all activities to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A devotee does not act on his personal account for sense gratification. Whatever he earns, whatever he eats, and whatever he does, he offers for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there's just some people moving their ditches, and they're just facing us, which is a bit awkward.
It's not awkward at all. They're actually facing this beautiful view.
I know, but we're in that view, if that makes sense.
Not exactly. But
who never agrees anything?
No, we do agree. We agreed earlier on something. So what are your realizations from this last paragraph?
Yeah, that devotee has no time to speak nonsense. I like that.
Good. And swadharmena, being exclusively occupied in one's eternal occupation, which is to act like the eternal servitor of the Lord. Let us all try our best to act like servants of the Lord and engage as much as we possibly can each day, a little bit more and a little bit more, with the consciousness of ourselves as spiritual beings. We chant the holy names. We hear from exalted persons like Srila Prabhupada and the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita. We honor Krishna Prasadam, and we watch out for bugs. Okay, this breeze is blowing, it's so nice, and we just read, we made it through another verse.
Yeah.
But,
the next verse, the purport's quite long, and I might melt like the Wicked Witch of the East, so.
I think it was west.
Maybe.
But,
right.
Okay, everybody. Hare Krishna. Thank you very
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Go Premanandi. Hare Hare.
Hare.